Welcome to Swolehammer. Since Warcry is a skirmish-sized game, you want it to be as accessible as possible. So that is why I went over the factions and found the 5 best and my favorite one-box warbands. Yes, one purchase that you can do to get a whole Warcry warband and just get started and into the hobby. So in a twist to the normal formula, we brought Swolehammer Warcry expert Riley on board to kind of just give her opinion on the list that I made.
Expert's a heavy title, but I'll do my best.
So on to our first list, and I'm going to get the obvious one out for all you Warcry fans out there. It's just the Bone Splitters box. Savage Orcs, 1 box, 1 kill. Riley, tell me what you think about this list.
So I've heard a little bit about Bone Splitters being a little wacky, and getting to see the big stabas is a lot of fun. I haven't actually played around with Bone Splitters before, but I can kind of see why people like this. The damage all around is pretty decent. I think the only glaring weakness is the movement. But we'll see here in a minute on the screen that these guys get a lot of abilities to kind of help you get into the mix. I think these play probably a better version of what I've done before with my Iron Jaws in Warcry. A little bit slow to start, but once you kind of get your low cost, affordable abilities in play, you can kind of wreak a lot of havoc. The quad, I'm kind of torn on because I feel like it's a more conditional version of Rampage, which is a universal ability. But all of the others are just super cool. The ability to just drop a double and party buff your toughness, the ability to call Wah on a triple and kind of get all of your buddies in wherever they need to go. It really kind of helps round out the one weakness that I see, and I suppose anyone would see with the Bone Splitters being the movement speed. It's a little rough, but they clearly have a lot going for them. I think this should be a lot of fun, especially for this being a one-box warband. Obviously, the conceit of the video isn't for all of these to be, hey, take this to a big tournament or something like that. But I think you could definitely be able to play a quality game and give your opponent some stress and make them think a little.
So list number 2, we go into Chaos with Clan Pestilence Skaven. 1 box of Plague Monks will get you this list. The list is you take the leader of the Clan Pestilence Plague Monks box, which is the bringer of the word, and then you just do fighters, 11 fighters. You could either do the Plague Monk with the folded blades or with the woe staves. They're the same price value. I just prefer the one with the blades. So Riley, give me your thoughts on this list.
Yeah, I like this list a lot. This is kind of the approach that a lot of Skaven lists kind of take with, throwing in a bunch of Plague Monks with pairs of folded blades. It's a fun way to really just go hard on crit fishing. You're not really so much swinging for regular hits with a 1 damage, but that 4 damage spike on crits is really nice. You can also buff that more with the generic Skaven leader triple, lead from the back. Fun way to throw more attacks on things. And you have a little bit of control in the Recite from the Book of Woes quad on the Skaven Priest, the bringer of the word. All in all, really fun list. You can do a lot with holding points with all of these bodies. 8 wounds is a lot to eat through for cheap units. I think this would be great.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for the 1 box list that gives you the most control, this is definitely it, because you just have so much board presence.
Yeah, it would take just so long to carve through all of these rats to claim priority on objectives, so I think this is super strong.
All right, now the exact opposite list is just 4 ogres. You take 1 box of, it's either iron guts, but they can be built into lead belchers, and this is the list. The Thunderfist leader, which is the leader of the lead belchers, and then 1 normal lead belcher, 2 normal iron guts. You can kind of mess with those numbers, but that's kind of what I like and I came up with. You have just range power and heavy melee presence.
Yeah, opposite of the last list is definitely right. The lowest wounds characteristic of anything in this warband is 30. Once you reach values like that, you put your opponent in a position to where they really have to choose which, of your fighters they want to invest in actually removing. Models with, wounds that high, you really have to dedicate a couple of turns to removing that from the game. So it really forces some difficult decisions on your opponent's part. You also just get access to a lot of great abilities here on the Maw Path. Those are a great way to kind of counteract the slow-moving, unfortunate move traits of these guys. Bull Charge is really fun. It's just another one of these splash up on a charge. Whenever you end a move action next to something, you can do some damage. Also, shout out to the anime fighter typo from Battle Scribe.
Still in there.
Still in there. Don't take it out at this point. It's too good. Might Makes Right is also just a really great double just to be able to eat through some chaff, because a lot of times you have to dedicate like an entire turn to removing like a Skaven little chaffy fighter from the board, and then it's like, oh, I can just spend a double and, you know, start eating into a second one. Helps clear through a lot of those chaffy lists. Thunderous Blast of Hot Metal, just a great album cover in general. And it really just lets you say, I removed that thing now. Overall, I think a really fun list, strong list to play. I think anyone playing this will have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, even though Warcry, a lot of people like to focus on having a Horde army, there has to be something to be said about just like 4 Ogres just messing stuff up. I mean, it's just like having the lowest toughness be 4 and the highest strength being 6 in your Warband is absolutely nutty. And honestly, I appreciate that, especially in a game like Warcry, where it's like sometimes, or a lot of the time, things kind of become like the center mosh pit slog, and it's like if you have something just whipping people around, it's just really nice.
Yeah, if you can be big and kill things efficiently, you can kind of go against that grain with a fair amount of confidence.
Next on our list is the unapologetic dwarf list, because as you know, I love dwarves in all fantasy and sci-fi and whatever. So we have 1 box of Iron Drakes. This is going to be a Greywater Fastness, Cities of Sigmar Warband list. So the Iron Warden, the leader of the Iron Drakes, and then in any amount that you choose, because they're the same price, Iron Breakers or Iron Drakes. Iron Breakers are the melee ones, Iron Drakes are the ranged ones. So all around stats wise, not super impressive, but being able to have about 10 bodies on the board is cool. And also they're dwarves. So Riley, give me your thoughts on this list.
Yeah, I almost feel like these are a good mix of the Skaven and the Ogres. They're hard to remove like the Ogres, for being relatively chaffy. Having 12 wounds and 5 or 4 toughness is pretty solid. And then you also get to be pretty hoardy, so you get to have the numbers on objectives. You have the downside of being relatively slow. Greywater Welcome helps a little bit with that. But you're also very shooty, and so while you can't necessarily get to points very quickly, you can at least start blasting from far away.
And you'll stay on the points as well. Yeah. Kind of my thoughts with this list. I mean, it's 1 box, and you get the Iron Breakers and the Iron Drakes in the same box. You have flexibility. The Grudge Hammer Torpedo kind of slaps, honestly, in my opinion, being 5 strength. But yeah, I mean, as you were saying.
Yeah, you only get 2 shots with the Grudge Hammer, but when they hit, they hit. And with 5 strength, they probably will hit. So, and you have like fun little abilities to kind of modify your shootiness, your shooty options with the triple and the quad. So overall, I think this is a very fun list. Also, a lot of people complain that like, oh, Fire Slayers and Caradron Overlords are like really specialized dwarves. I want to play Gimli. Well, with Greywater Fastness, you get to be Gimli.
And lastly, we have my favorite list, obviously it being the last one, and something I probably would actually play at some point. It's just Zangors. It's Upsal Zangors. 1 box of Zangors gives you so many variants on kind of an already good profile, and it's chaos, so I absolutely love this. I mean, I love the models, the flexibility, but I mean, Riley, tell me what you think about the Upsal Zangors list.
I like this a lot because honestly, I really like Zangors. They're not really what you expect from Tzeentch, and that kind of shows in the gameplay of this list. You don't expect Tzeentch to be the one to charge down the field at 5 movement speed, which is decently fast, and just beat the heck out of you. Again, kind of like the Greywater, like they're pretty hard to remove for being pretty chaffy units, having 15 wounds. Like, I don't even care what the toughness is at that point. That's a lot to chew through for something that's only going to remove 1 body from a point.
And it's under 100 points on top of that.
Yeah, and on top of the fact that you get these nice swingy crits, 1 damage, sure, but /4, you got me listening. On top of, Uttered Words of Arcane Power lets you add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristics of the next attack action. So you're really getting to fish for those crits now.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I played Tzeentch, the Zangors were the MVP, hands down. It was against Cruel Boys, and they're just better statted than what I had, except the Zangors kept me in the fight and let me get to a tie. And in that game, I used uttered words of arcane power every single turn. That just shows how much value that ability has, but also the underrated value of Zangors. Like, I honestly think this list rivals the one box like Bone Splitters list. Like, I absolutely love my Zangors, and I think this list slaps.
Yeah, I think so too. I guess which one would you pick if you had to pick one of these to bring to like a small casual event?
It'd be the Zangors. Maybe the Ogres, just because it's funny. And also, aside from Chaos, Ogres are like my second favorite thing in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. But yeah, the Zangors are great. And I like just having so many different model options from one box. So even though it's like a one box warband, your warband like actually kind of wholly looks pretty different. Like there's a lot of like different character. I mean, you have a Twist Spray, a mutant, like shield guys, two-handed sword guys. It's awesome. I would take the Zangor list hands down.
Yeah, despite all being Zangors, you got a lot going on there. And that's kind of the thing about this video that I like, is that, you know, this is never intended to be, you know, a bunch of lists that are competitive. These aren't comp lists that you can bring, you know, to defeat all your friends. But you're going to have a good time if you play this, and you're going to make your opponent sweat a little bit, I think, with any of these. So
yeah, in the end, thanks for watching. And thank you, Riley, for coming through to give us your Warcry knowledge and what you think about my haphazard list building. So as a disclaimer, I do realize that this video is coming in hot off the heels of the Warcry Heart of Gur, aka Warcry 2.0 announcement. That being said, if the point values differ that much or list building differs that much, I still think all these boxes are going to have a lot of value either way. So this is something to keep an eye on. But for now, I don't think that's the case, honestly, and I think these are just fun warbands to mess with either way. So as always, this is Rafiq and Riley with Swolehammer.
stay swole.